breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty. Mornings on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
.101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty. Caddo Parish School Board decided to interview one candidate out of the 6 that were provided. They made the motion in last night's meeting. Christine Tharp, Caddo Parish School Board member, made that motion. She's on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker hotline. Christine, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Aaron.
A little leprechaun just jumped in here. Okay.
Thank you for taking time to talk with us this morning. Hey, look, I'm telling you, the majority of discussions that we've had this morning about this have been positive. Keith Burton is, first of all, he's a great guy, very good man. I'm impressed by the score. You guys have a scoring system, possible 60 points, and Keith came out with 58. What was the nearest score behind him?
I think it was 36 was the closest score after that. He was far and away out in the lead.
When you got the scores, it was quick after that. You quickly made a motion to interview just one candidate. Katie McLean seconded the motion. Then we voted, and it was a 7-5 vote, and we adjourned the meeting.
That's right.
The room, the air in the room kind of sucked out. It was bizarre. Was I seeing that wrong, or was it bizarre?
You may have. I think you're accurate in that description. But we got the tally, we got the scores. Like I said, Mr. Burton was far and away ahead of everyone else, and so with a score like that, I didn't see any reason why we should call another candidate, waste their time, taxpayer money to bring them here and do an interview.
So, Christine, when you made the motion at that moment, did you know beforehand, before the meeting, you were going to do that? Or was that like, guys,
Absolutely
we found
not.
our candidate. This is our guy. Let's move.
No, absolutely not. I did not feel that way before the meeting. I went in with an open mind. I listened to everyone. I had read all the resumes and recommendation letters. And he was clearly the best choice.
To those who say the fix was in, he was your guy, y'all got Benita Dozart to go along with you. What ye say to those folks who say the fix was in? Y'all had this all rigged ahead of time?
That is absolutely false. It is. It's just that's not true. I didn't know who the final candidates were going to be. I found out along with everyone else. It's absolutely not true, and I think that is wrong for people to say that.
For folks to say that he was the only local contender, that we probably had other people in the system that could also be a good leader. What do you say to those folks?
Well, I think we followed the process. We hired a search firm to do a job. They did the job, and we have to go with what we hired them to do. That's the process we as a board voted to put in place. Mm-hmm. So that's what we need to follow.
You made a good point I hadn't even thought of, because, people will say, well, we spent $60,000 on the search firm and they brought us 6 names, but we would go with the low. But then for those who say, well, why aren't we interviewing 3 of them? Or you make a great point. That's expensive to fly those folks in, put them in a hotel and hold these special receptions for them and all that. That does cost a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money. And clearly, with the score that he got, it's going to be a waste of time. So let's just move forward.
We were looking over the candidates before, and I heard Stephen Parr make a great point about, some of the candidates, like we know one was from New Orleans. I don't know that you could say New Orleans would be a shining example in education. One was from Portland, Oregon. Mm-hmm. Tell me anything Portland, Oregon, and Caddo Parish have in common.
Yeah.
Philosophically at all.
Right. Yes.
So,
I don't know. Like I said, I went in with an open mind. I listened. I read the resumes and the letters of recommendation. And Mr. Burton, like I said, he was just a shining star as far as I'm concerned, as far as in all those candidates. I do know him, too. As a PTA president, I worked with him at Middle Magnet, so I know how he is with parents, and I admire him for that. I know how much teachers that I heard from just admire him, and I've heard from since last night. He's going to work well with everyone in Caddo Parish. I have faith.
Have you talked to Dr. Dozart? I got a text earlier today that perhaps she misvoted. Have you had any conversation with her about that, or do you think she was really felt exactly like you do?
I have not had any conversation with her at all, so I can't speak to that.
Okay, let's move forward. What are your orders? What are you running your mission? What's your I've lost the word to Keith Burton. What are you telling him? Here's where we want you to go with our system.
What's your charge?
Thank you.
Yes. Well, I mean, we have great expectations for him. That's for sure. That just to lead this district into great things is all I can say. To work with everyone who has a stake in Caddo Parish, and let's move forward and do great things and for our students.
But Christine Tharp, Caddo Parish School Board member, he's got a tough row to hoe. We have failing schools in our system. We have the state trying, wanting to take over schools. What are some things that we're going to do now with the new superintendent to hopefully make these positive changes? Yes,
I look forward to hearing his plan that he's going to have in place. I have, like I said, all the confidence in the world in him. So I know he will hit the ground running, and I'm excited.
The interview with him will be September 11th.
Yes.
And where do we go from there? It's going to be an open forum. This isn't my first rodeo. I've done superintendent searches way back where it was all closed. The interviews have been closed. This is going to be open. It's handled a little bit differently. Explain that.
Yes, so it will be an open meeting. We will interview him, and then we will vote, and then he hopefully will be in place after that.
You would assume that, like Jasmine Green told us earlier today, he's going to be the guy, it looks like. We all need to get behind him. I would assume we'll try to get a unanimous vote. Let's all get on the same page and move forward. Is that your hope?
That is my absolute hope. I really hope that we can do that, yes.
And then he would start October 1 as soon as that?
Right. That's correct.
Well, it's exciting. Yeah. Keith is I know him a minute, and great choice. Yeah. I think he's will be a good leader. A lot of support with teachers and administrators, and of course parents. And so we'll see how it goes. He will be
a great choice. He's got a lot invested. He's been here a long time. He's worked his way up as teacher, principal, like I said. His family works in Caddo, so he's a great choice.
And he's not going to be looking to take this to jump off to a, quote, better position, 3 years down the road. So he's local and he's here.
He is here for the long haul, and he truly, truly cares.
Right. Christine Tharp, Caddo Parish School Board, thank you for jumping on with us this morning.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.
You bet.
You too. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Big stories of the day with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Oh boy, Ruben, this feels like a Friday because we are off tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? Today's Thursday. So we are taking a day off tomorrow. It was one of those corporate bonus days. Yay, we love them.
Yay.
Give us an extra long weekend. And we're off on Monday for Labor Day.
Yes.
So we'll be back on Tuesday. Mike is off today. He'll be back sometime next week. I'm not sure. He's
Wednesday.
I think he's cutting grass this weekend.
Yeah,
I think he volunteered to do all of his neighbors' yards. I'm not sure. He'll come get yours if you want him to.
Yeah. Just let him know.
Let him know. We're going to have the mayor in studio from 7 to 8 this morning, answering no holds barred.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything was off limits. He said, ready to go. How about Thursday? Let's do it. So he'll be here to answer any questions you have. You can call Ruben at 725-5335. He loves chatting with you.
Yes.
And he'll take your questions, jot them down, and get them to the mayor. Or you can ask the mayor yourself. We'll put you on the air. You have to keep it clean because he'll have to beep you out. Keep it clean. And you can ask the mayor directly and see what he says. Our message board will be open to the Shreveport Security Systems message board. Get it on the app. The app's free. You can send the mayor a message.
And if you don't want to fool with the message board, there is a post on Facebook that you can comment under that I'll be keeping an eye on.
Yes, absolutely. Saw something yesterday that we are among the worst potty mouths in the nation.
Here in Louisiana?
Yes.
With swearing.
We are number 2. To Maryland.
Maryland. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, Puff's from Maryland.
Yeah.
So, we know about his swearing.
He swears in our meetings.
Yes. But I sat back and I thought, it's getting worse. Have you ever been out dining at a restaurant and at a table next to you hear an F-bomb?
Yeah, actually.
When I was younger, I've never heard that.
Wow.
At a restaurant, nobody was ever at another table swearing like they are now.
Yeah, and I think some of it might be the completely unedited and unfiltered stuff we get by watching mostly internet. But also, regular cable TV has kind of let loose with the cursing since, South Park. South Park kind of led the way.
South Park is how old now? 25?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it came out when I was 11 or 12.
And you got to watch South Park when you watched all kind of crazy stuff when you were a youngster, though.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I had a TV in my room with cable hooked up.
No Barney for you?
No Barney, no.
No Sesame Street?
No. I was watching The Simpsons and South Park.
And bloody horror movies?
Yeah, horror movies where, arms get ripped off and stuff like that.
That's why you are who you are.
Yeah, kind of. Blame TV.
But you hear swearing, and I'm hearing it from younger and younger people, too. I'm hearing, when I hear 12-year-olds, I'm like,
yeah.
Where's the soap?
Yeah. That, and, they started playing kind of dirtier music on the radio when I was younger, too, but it was always edited. There was always a special radio version, and a lot of times that's the only version you knew, and now there are no radio edited. There's no radio edited music.
Yes, exactly.
No, you're just hearing everything the way it is.
Even sometimes the words you're not supposed to. Are there still some words we can't say? I mean, I know you've been given orders about protecting the license from McCarty.
Yeah, let me list them, right? But yeah, there are certain phrases and words we still can't use on the radio.
And you have a little button, just a little inside baseball. You have a little button on there, and it says dump.
Yeah.
Does it say dump McCarty?
Yeah, it says dump delay, but it might as well say dump McCarty. You're the only one I've had to hit the dump button for in this studio.
Never for Mikey Poo, ever?
No.
Wow.
No.
And not for yourself either?
No, not even for me. Just you.
I must have a potty mouth.
You're the problem.
I'm helping keeping us at the highest in the rankings. I think the least potty mouth state, I think, this is no surprise, North Dakota. They're sweet.
Yeah. What's bothering you so bad in North Dakota that you'd have to swear?
Well, you're frozen to death for one crying out loud that I'm about to swear. Anyway, I don't like this. I just don't like this cursing at restaurants. If you're sitting at a dinner table and somebody at the next table can hear you swearing, you're too loud. You're too loud, and you're not considerate of others. That's what I think of you. I think you're not considerate of others. I may have a child over here. Somebody may have a kid.
Yeah, in places like restaurants, keep it
keep it cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just don't yell F-bombs in the restaurant.
Mayor Tom Arsenault will be in studio in about 30 minutes. After the news at the top of the hour at 7, he will be joining us. We're going to give him his own microphone and headphones, and he free for all, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. I'll be filtering for sure. I'm not going to let you ask him anything.
Yeah,
but you know.
If it's
keep it relevant,
city related, business related, that everybody cares about, we don't want to know about the pothole on your street.
No.
Okay, we don't have time for that.
No.
But if it's general related questions, he's game and he's willing to answer them, and I appreciate that. The Shreveport Security Systems message board is open. You can get that on the KEEL app, which is free. And if you have the app, by the way, you know who our guests are coming up. We'll send you a little note. But the phone number, write this down. 725-5335. We do not open this phone line very often. Today's the day Ruben earns his pay. 1017 FM, 710 KEEL.
Back with more of Mike and McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Mike is off today. He'll be back with us on Wednesday. Scott Hughes will come in on Tuesday to join us, so we'll have him in. Ruben is here at the controls. This room really is nice.
Oh, man.
We haven't, I mean, it's one of those things you're like, everything you wanted, if you could have told them exactly what you wanted, how you wanted it, this would be it.
Oh, absolutely. This is the dream studio for sure.
I know. Has the mayor been in this new room yet?
I think once.
He has.
I
okay.
think, yeah.
I was like, I don't know if he's been in the new one, but I'm like, okay, this is really going to be cool. So I'm excited. Mayor Tom Arsenault in studio for an hour, 7 to 8. He will be talking about whatever you want to talk about. 725-5335 is the number. We will open the phone lines shortly after 7 o'clock. And if you don't want to go on the air, Ruben can just take your question.
Yeah.
If you want to go on the air and ask it on, live to the mayor, we will do that. And mind you, we are on a delay, so you're going to have to turn your radio down.
Right.
You're not going to be able to keep it up and listen. You'll be confused, and we will just have to disconnect because it'll cause a problem. But anyway, that is coming up, and 7 o'clock hour is going to be fun. We've already got a long list of questions from the message board, from Facebook, from a lot of folks.
Well, we definitely have enough for the hour, but it's still, if you want to call in and get me to ask the question, if you want to ask the question yourself, I'm going to have to vet you a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you say something crazy, we're on a delay. They won't hear it. I'll dump you.
He'll dump you. He's, he is the king of making sure people in this room don't say stupid things.
That we don't get kicked off the air by the FCC. Yeah, that's a big part of my job. Yeah,
because look who he's working with.
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah.
So coming up next, Jackie Lansdale on the decision by the Caddo School Board to move forward with Keith Burton only. We asked her about that. Well, you will hear from her coming up next, right here on 1017 FM, 710 KEEL.
Let's get back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Mike and McCarty on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline. Jackie Lansdale, Red River United Teachers Credit Union. When you're loaning money to teachers,
union.
Jackie.
Sorry, Jackie. He needs a vacation.
That's okay.
Teachers
That's okay. Thank
Union.
you. Thank you for the extra title.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So Caddo Parish School Board made the decision out of the 6 candidates that were presented to them by the firm that they hired. They're going to go with one candidate, local candidate, Keith Burton. What kind of feedback have you gotten?
Well, it has been a long process, but I've done this. I've gone through this process. This will be my 5th time to go through this process, and it's never been an easy process. Mm-hmm. But this is the first time that I have memory of them actually choosing the second in command. And with Keith or Mr. Burton, in the final analysis, they chose somebody they knew. And during the times that we're going through right now, I have a pretty good understanding that it's kind of like, seeing the village on fire. And they brought somebody in that they believe had the known qualities to address it.
Do you think, as we heard from John Glover earlier this hour, that the fix was in, that they were going to go with Keith Burton from jump anyway?
I can't say that. Clearly, I believe that Keith had been there, had worked with people. He was widely known through all, a variety of communities, whether it be political or religious community. People knew Keith Burton. I can't say that. I do think that the firm they hired, we've hired that firm before several times, or they have hired that firm before several times. Always brought good, effective candidates. So, that's all you can say is what was presented to you. You can't determine what's in another person's heart or mind.
Bonita Dozart cast the vote, with the majority. Some are saying she may have made a mistake. That was attributed to you by somebody that sent me a text. Do you think that happened? Have you talked to her? Did she make a mistake in her vote? Do you know?
That literally, she's done that before with a new voting device they have there. I say new, it's not really that new, but for some board members, it seems to be fairly complex. And on a couple of occasions, she's done that before. Did she do that last night? Only Dr. Dozart could speak to that.
So you haven't talked to her. You don't know that was an error on her part.
No, that was reported to me, but I would be less than truthful if I said that I knew that I actually heard that from her.
Okay,
in the final analysis, if that's how she voted, that's how she voted.
Let's be positive now. Let's move forward. Keith Burton's going to be our superintendent. What does he bring to the table? Are you excited about this? Could we see some changes that will be positive?
Quite frankly, I do think that I don't know if I said the word excited is more than I said the word relieved. That, we do know that Keith, and I say Keith because I've known him for so long, we do know that he has the background knowledge of how this district operates. We do know that he's worked his way up through, and there's something to be said for that, to be quite frankly, that to be rewarded after a job well done. And we do know that he knows where the things that need to be, we do know that he will have the ability to work with our local politicians on both sides of the aisle and with our state government to right the ship as much as we can right the ship right now. We really are a district that has some hot spots, some crisis points, and at this point, all I would ever want to do is to say, Keith, come on, we're behind you, and we're going to work with you to the best of our ability.
What does he mean for teachers? You represent teachers. What does he mean for the teachers?
For teachers, from our perspective, he is the person that can make the hard decisions. He's not the person that's going to stay between the bureaucratic lines. And that, for us, is extremely, extremely relieving, extremely refreshing. We're glad to see that come because there are times when there are people that just simply, instead of, and it's hard. These people are bureaucrats, and I say that all the time. And I love them dearly. I work with them. They make great policy, but they do not get rewarded for getting outside the lines. Keith does not mind doing that.
Jackie Lansdale with Red River United. Jackie, you like Aaron just said, you represent teachers. Have you heard from teachers within the parish, and what is the feedback been?
Just probably what you've heard this morning. It's all over the place. We've heard those that feel like that their voices weren't heard, that once again, that school board, they just did this thing, that kind of stuff. And you've heard those that said, well, that's a great job, and we're relieved that somebody from inside the district that's paid, paid to be there, who's done the earnest work to be there, they're relieved about that too. So it really is all over the place. But from our perspective as leadership, we've been there through the entire process. As I said, this is our fifth time to go through the process. Never easy. And at this point, we just get behind that person that's leading and do whatever we can to help. If there's something that we don't think is right with what's going on, you hear us. You hear us loud and clear like you did with the insurance. Mm-hmm. And we feel really very good that this is a fresh start and that we're going to move this thing forward.
Jackie Lansdale, Red River United, thank you for jumping on with us. We appreciate it.
You take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Back with you. Coming up, by the way, Mayor Tom Arsenault will be joining us in studio for the 7 o'clock hour, the entire hour, to talk about whatever is on your mind. Now, you can call in your question. Ruben will pick up the phone and answer your questions or let you talk directly to the mayor, or he will relay your question. The phone number is 725-KEEL. That's 725-5335. You can also ask a question on the Shreveport Security Systems message board. It's easy to get to. You can just download the KEEL app for free, and we're not going to send you all kind of advertising stuff. It's just a way to communicate with us, and we can read your messages directly on the air to the mayor. The KEEL app is free, and on the KEEL app, you'll see a little button that says Message Us. Now, you can also, on Facebook, we have a post up about asking the mayor a question. You can post your question there, and we're going to go through. We're going to have too many, so we might have to do another day with him.
Yeah, we have about 3 hours worth right now just online.
We will get to as many as we can that have the broader interest for the whole community. So he will be joining us shortly. I found something, Rube, that is interesting. I know you're a parent, and the mayor just wandered in. You're a parent too. You know those claw machines that you flush a ton of money in?
Yeah.
The kids want to claw the little teddy bear out of it.
Yeah.
And get it. They are now finding in Rio de Janeiro, just that one country right now, it's not in the U.S. yet, that they might be linked to organized crime. So you can't win.
Right.
You're not going to win at the claw machines.
Well, look, so many of those games, even at a time in the U.S. a long time ago, the mafia was selling pinball machines and running pinball machines.
Really?
Yeah, they were the ones doing that. Yeah,
Who knew?
Organized crime has been in large part in charge of arcade games for a long time. It's not a new thing.
And it's so funny when you put $1 in and your kid tries the claw machine and they've got the little fluffy animal up, and they've got it almost to the drop spot and it falls. And then they look at you like, oh, shit, let's go again.
I almost had it. Yeah.
So you give them another $1 and we try, and the same, it happens over and over again. So linked to organized crime.
That's fantastic.
I know.
And I don't understand why they rig those games in the first place. The things in the machines aren't worth anything.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't cost $1.
Right.
That teddy bear didn't cost $1. It cost you a dime. Why not just make the claw strong enough to where you can get it?
Let every kid be a winner.
Yeah, you're
won
making
70 cents.
You're making profit either way.
It's a great point. I ain't even thought about that. That's kind of silly. Mayor Arsenault in studio with us. He's going to be answering your questions after the top of the hour. That is coming up right here on 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Welcome back to a kind of an unusual edition of the show on KEEL this morning. Mike is off today. We're going to have him back on Wednesday. Mayor Tom Arsenault has graced us with his presence for a full hour, right?
Absolutely.
I'm excited to have him. He's going to answer your questions, whatever it might be. Keep it clean. Keep it relevant to the entire city. He doesn't want to fix your one pothole on your street. He knows it's important to you.
Actually, I do want to fix that pothole, but I don't want to answer a question about it
one
today.
individual pothole, right? The phone number is 725-5335. And Ruben is excited to chat with you.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And he is ready. If you want to go on the air and talk to the mayor, that's fine. You can ask him your question, and then we just hope you will listen on the radio, because you're going to have to turn your radio down while you ask your question, and then you can turn it back up and listen. Anyway, some of the rules. Shreveport Security Systems message board is open on the KEEL app. You can send us a message. We've already got some on there. And Facebook, too.
And I am keeping an eye on Facebook. So.
Absolutely. A lot of people on our Facebook page, Mayor, ask about roads. Challenging you to drive from downtown Shreveport along Uri Drive with a hot cup of coffee in your lap. There are roads in town that need work. I know we passed a significant bond issue to work on a lot of roads. How big a priority is that for you? And are you going to start making some, small steps to get some of these roads fixed?
First of all, let me address Uri Drive. Uri Drive is a state highway. We do not maintain Uri Drive. The other one that's really in bad shape that I get a lot of calls about is Hearn Avenue. It is also a state highway, and so rather than asking me, I suggest you call your state legislator.
Mm-hmm. Local roads that have potholes that are, in disrepair, you have put out a list of the roads you're going to be working on with the bond issue, and that work is now, we're starting to bid those now, or getting close.
No. A couple of those we moved up. There are a couple of those that we're going to be doing with American Rescue Plan funds, because those funds have to be committed and obligated by the end of this year. And so we had some that were ready, that were in the bond issue, that we moved up. And so those will be done. And that was done based on what was ready to bid, rather than necessarily a priority. We currently plan to sell the first set of bonds, probably between $80 and $90 million worth of bonds in before the presidential election. There's a strategic financial reason why we're going to do that, and we're working on that process now. So after we do that, then we will begin looking for shovel-ready projects, because we want to start turning dirt as quickly as we can. Mm-hmm. With roads, you don't do the design until you have the money in hand, and so there is a little bit more of a delay with roads than with some other kinds of projects. Now, we do have some smaller streets that are overlays and that kind of thing. They may be able to be done, but we're compiling that list now, so that we'll be able to determine exactly how much we want to go to market on. We don't sell the whole $246 million at once.
Right. Got a question. You brought up the American Rescue Plan money. We got a question on the message board yesterday, I believe, about those dollars. How much total did we get during the Perkins administration and now yours? And I believe it's close to $50 million. I may be wrong.
It's right around $48 million.
And what have we spent that money on? Let's get the top five biggies.
Top five biggies, I would say the $3 million under the Perkins administration, $3,800,000 for the purchase of Millennium Studios is the single biggest item. Fire vehicles and equipment, including 3 fire pumper trucks, that was a little over $2 million. The $1,500,000 for the YMCA baseball fields, $800,000 for the Ronald McDonald House, and $1.1 million for the Cyport IMAX are the largest ones. The single largest one for our administration since 2023 has been various $8.9 million for various street projects, including David Raines Road, Audrey Lane, and just quite a large number of others.
Knight Street.
I was going to get that one was 8.9. The Knight Street's not that much.
I know,
Knight Street is $3,750,000.
Okay.
And then Ford Street, the utility relocation on 4th Street is $4.4 million. Those are probably the largest ones that are in there. But
so you have honed in on streets with this money. I mean, it's real apparent.
Correct.
As opposed to other areas that people may say, why did we do that?
I would say that if you look at if you were to look at the list that I have in front of me, most of it is streets. We have a couple of pools and public safety, fire and police equipment, and renovations. For example, there's supplemental money going for the firing range at the Police and Fire Academy.
Speaking of the Police and Fire Academy, people have asked me, and we got another message on the message board about the police station, asking if you have toured it lately, and that some police officers believe they are working in unsafe and unsanitary conditions. When's the last time you were in there, A?
Oh, probably 2 weeks ago.
Okay. How close are we to building a new police station, central police station?
It is under design. I believe that the funds that were passed in 2021 are not going to be sufficient to rebuild that police station, but we are going to find the additional funds. My financial genius, Mr. Dark, is working on a plan that would allow us to continue to do that. So we are aware of the poor conditions of that building, which is why we want to replace it. And we are moving forward as quickly as we can. That's just not a short-term fix.
Gotcha. When we come back, we want to talk about Humor and Harmony, Curtis Jackson's investment in our city, security. Have the officers been paid? We're going to get to all that when we come back with Mayor Tom Arsenault right here live in studio answering your questions. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Back with more of Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
With Mayor Tom Arsenault on KEEL, and I can't thank you enough for joining us for the full hour.
Oh, it's always fun to be here.
Appreciate it. Phone number is 725-5335. You're shy to talk to Ruben. He's not mean. He's a very nice man, but we are getting a ton of messages on the message board and on Facebook. We're going to go back to Humor and Harmony, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. Let's start with the tough question first. I've gotten several messages now on the message board. Police officers who work security who say they have not yet been paid 3 weeks later. Are you working on that? Are you investigating that? What is the status?
I had understood they were going to be paid by the beginning of this week. And so your question is the first that I have noticed that they have not been paid. So I haven't been working on it because I wasn't aware of it. That is all being handled by a third party. That they were not hired by the city of Shreveport. They were hired by ASM Global, and they're handling that. I suspect that there was a long list of officers, over 180 officers, and someone had to compile the list of who had to get what and how many hours. I suspect, but do not know that that's part
none
of
of them were on duty.
They were all hired as off-duty officers.
Off-duty?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not. They were because they were that way. They were being paid more than if they'd have been on duty.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Interesting. I did not realize that. So I guess you will look into it. I would assume you would say, "Hey, let's look into this. Why they have not made a call to."
I will be in touch with ASM today to find out what the answer is,
and let us know if you don't mind. We would appreciate that.
Okay.
Do we have someone who wants to talk to the mayor, real quick, or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, then let me ask you about...
I don't feel bad about it. I'm not rejected.
725-5335 is the number. If you want to ask him a question, it's open. You don't be shy. He'll answer your question. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Humor and Harmony. Another message on the message board about how we embraced that event, but we seemed... and I want to open it. Let me get to something else before, because I want to get that phrasing right. When will the city start growing our own local events? They reference Mardi Gras. Let me open it back up. Hang on a minute. That there were some problems with Mardi Gras, but yet Mudbug Madness runs into problems. Will the city open all doors and say yes to everything for all these other big events, like we said to Humor and Harmony? I know you want to address that.
We really have already done that. There are always minor issues. There were with Humor and Harmony. There are always minor issues with those. We've just entered into a 3-year contract with the major Mardi Gras cruise, so that's resolved. There was less to that than was made of it, frankly.
Okay.
So we do embrace our local festivals, and we take care of them, and we contribute significantly to those on a financial basis, which we did not do so much for Humor and Harmony.
Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has invested in buying properties in downtown Shreveport. 10 or 12 at last count. I don't know if there have been more since I last checked. He's looked at other properties. I don't know if you're privy to say to me what you told me at GeeksCon. The property he looked at here in Shreveport, the Libby Glass plant. Is that anything that it could come of that?
I heard that as a possibility once. I do not know whether it's still something that he is considering, and those are all private investments, so it's not something he's required to consult with me about, and generally does not. But we will be having some discussions generally particularly about the downtown area, the entertainment district, and that kind of thing, because he does have some very specific ideas there that we haven't yet shared.
Mm-hmm.
The last 90 days basically was spent on planning this huge event, and as a result of that, everybody that was involved in the discussions, the other discussions, were involved so heavily in humor and harmony that we really everybody was off task for that. So now we're going to reopen those discussions.
I know you have a fond place in your heart for the Regions Bank Tower, having worked in there, I am sure, for many years at the law firm. Is it a possibility he could buy that big building? There were a lot of rumors he was going to buy one of the big downtown buildings. Is that even a possibility?
I don't have any idea. I just don't have any. I haven't had any discussions with him or any of the people involved with G Unit about that.
When do we expect him to start movie, TV production with regard to Millennium Studios? I think it had, what was the clause on, he had so many days to start doing works and doing projects.
Yeah, I think there are 2 buildings at that location, and the original lease includes only one of those buildings. He would like to have the second building, and we believe that is viable. But we had about a 90-day gap where all the people that are involved in that were involved in planning and executing Humor and Harmony, and as a result of that, we have not confected that last part. There was a couple of other moving parts with that, which is why it wasn't included in the original lease.
You got a couple of questions for on the 725-5335, Rube?
Yes. And now I was on the phone, so I might not have heard. These might have already been asked and answered. How much money did we get with Humor and Harmony?
How much money did we receive?
How much? Yeah, that's basically.
We won't have the August sales tax and hotel motel tax figures until the end of September, and so I'm not really in a position to say that. I will say that I believe that the 3 nights, the 3 nights. There were 4 days and 3 nights. The 3 nights of Humor and Harmony were the largest hotel occupancy nights since before COVID in Shreveport, Bossier.
The cost to the city for Humor and Harmony. I mean, surely y'all put together a report, things we did have to pay for, things that did cost us some money, for maybe SPAR workers overtime or whatever. Do we have an idea of how much the city will have spent on that festival?
I think the only thing that we're really going to have is some public safety expenditure that when we looked at the list of things we were asking them to pay for, we felt were more general public safety than specifically related to the festival, and that's going to run about $70,000.
Okay. Got a text from State Rep Thomas Presley. No, excuse me, State Senator now, right?
That's right.
He said, FYI, Uri Drive from Stoner to Piermont is in the planning process and is expected to go out for letting by the end of the first quarter next year. Repaving will take 60 days once construction begins. Back with the mayor and the financial condition of the city. I want to talk about that when we get back. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Get back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Gosh, we're going to run out of time. It's so terrible. Can we combine these segments here, Ruben? Or is that going to be a problem? You already did it, didn't you?
Let me figure something out. I love these Aaron McCarty last minute tasks.
Yeah, I do that a lot. City's finances. The city council a few years ago approved a 13% pay hike. Henry Whitehorn, the CAO at the time, said this is not sustainable. We're going to have to find another source of revenue to sustain this. I know you've been in office. Has it been a year and a half?
A little over a year and a half.
A little over a year and a half.
I'm in my 20th month. Actually, I'm finishing my 20th month.
You're looking at the budget for next year now already? Starting to work on that? Is the 13% pay raise sustainable, A? If not, what are you planning? What are you going to do?
Well, it's very challenging. We're having to look very carefully at employee compensation in 2025, and we're not ready to reveal that. We'll have a budget message and everything before October 1st. And but it is challenging, and particularly challenging this year and into 2025 because our sales tax revenues are down. As you know, about between 64 and 65% of our operating budget comes from sales tax, which is can be a very volatile tax. So it's a little hard to plan for. We had budgeted a 3.5% increase in our sales taxes, which basically was our estimate of inflation. And our sales taxes are running about flat, which means that we budgeted more this year than we likely are going to take in sales tax. So
wow.
The 2025 budget is going to be a challenge. I have the very best in the world working on that, Tom Dark, and I think generally the news has been better than I expected, but that was a challenging. It was a challenging move, and it may result in fewer increases going forward for some city employees.
Any chance of a salary reduction for anyone?
No.
Any chance of any kind of layoff?
We're not looking at that, no.
Any kind of hiring freeze? Because, leave some jobs vacant. Maybe that adds more money to your payroll.
We are already asking department heads not to fill non-essential positions. That's a little bit of a misnomer. We think that every position in the city has a purpose, and therefore you could consider it essential. But there are some positions that are less important than others, where others may be able to pick up the slack or may be able to use overtime to pick up the slack, and we're asking department heads to do that.
So we're kind of under a hiring freeze right now as we sit.
That's right.
Okay. And when did that go into effect?
Probably about 3 months ago, because we began, when you don't assume that 1 month is a trend, but when you have 6 or 7 months, then you have to assume that there's a trend.
Okay. Let's talk water and the summer of, what's it called?
Manganese.
Thank you. The summer of manganese. Some folks are still dealing with yellowish, greenish water, and their water bills are higher.
Well, the only water rate increase was the 10% increase. So they should be experiencing a 10% increase in their water bill. But other than that, except for water usage, there shouldn't be any reason for that.
If I buy a Whopper at Burger King and it's 10% more, I expect it to be a good Whopper and not have yellow color.
Well, I hear that, and we're doing everything that we know to do. We have discovered that chlorine dioxide is good at treating that water. We had one unit, a large unit, that was, by water's terms, not Shreveport water plant terms, because Amos is very old, but we have invested in a new chlorine dioxide unit that we think will assist in that. Our manganese levels in the water have decreased substantially, and so we've made a great deal of progress, and we certainly regret the distasteful color and the discoloration that people are experiencing, and we're doing everything we can to eliminate it.
Let's talk about property standards. We got a question, I believe it was on Facebook, Ruben, with regard to property standards. Are you confident they have been doing everything they needed to be doing to get rid of blight and property? I know you've stepped that up, but we've had these apartment complexes. We got a question about the old Holidome, which is now a Ramada Inn, that it's crumbling. Have you given your property standards department a charge of we have to do better?
Well, we have, but they really do a very, very good job. We just have an enormous number of properties, and we're going to be looking at other ways to try and encourage people to fix their properties. When the environmental court, for example, was first established, every violation went before the environmental court, and that was patterned after the court that operated in the city of Monroe. That is, a better model than what we're doing now, which is only if there is an appeal. So I signed 10 demolition orders yesterday, and regularly I'm getting those. We added over $1.5 million to the property standards budget this year to account to do more demolition. But frequently what I see with those demolition orders that come to me is I get photographs of all of those proposed demolitions, and some of them look to me as though they really could be restored. And the problem is that the owners will neither restore them nor sell them, and we're looking at possibilities for how we might give more incentive or force sales of some of that property so that it would be in the hands of someone who would actually do something with it.
Let me ask you about that. The apartments that you had, I think 2 of them were up for bids.
4
of them were up for bids. Tell us more about those, and did we have some success?
As I appreciated, there were some very, very good bids, all of which ended up being rejected. We are attempting to communicate with the attorney for the lender for those 4. I'm sure the lender is just as disappointed at the rejection as we are, and the attorney was on vacation last week. We're still trying to get in touch with him to see, now that the property did not sell at the auction, what the lender's plan is, because they have not yet, I don't believe they have yet foreclosed on those properties, and so we'll be hopefully working with the lender to resolve those. If not, we're going to start knocking them down.
And that's a question that I want to ask you. Maybe you have to put your lawyer hat on. When you knock them down, there's a cost to that. Do you then put a lien on the property, and then does the city then have an interest in that property that we could maybe monetize at some later date when the property is sold?
The problem with many of these properties is that the properties themselves, once the demolition occurs, are probably not worth the cost of the demolition. And we're dealing with limited liability entities like LLCs or corporations. And frequently we're behind a large mortgage. So while it is true that we can file a lien, that doesn't necessarily mean it will result in money coming into the city. And so we have to make a judgment about those. So we're some of these demolitions themselves could run $1 million. And that's something that we have to prioritize, because we have lots of properties so we could do a lot of properties for $1 million and improve things in a lot of neighborhoods versus a single location. So those are very tough choices. That's why being the mayor is a difficult job, but I'm up to it, and I'm willing to make those decisions and stand for those decisions.
Speaking of demolitions that are costly, I drive by it twice a day. You drive by it probably a lot. We're talking Fairgrounds Field. This is a message from our Shreveport Security Systems message board. Why are we as a city not willing to sit down with the Friends of Fairgrounds Field and at least listen to their proposal?
Well, first of all, they don't have a complete proposal, and I laid out terms. To a representative of Mr. Coleman in 2022, before I was mayor. I was asked while I was running for mayor, and I laid out the conditions under which I'd be willing to visit with them. This was before the litigation, and those conditions were: 1, that the city would not put up any more money for the restoration than the cost of demolition, because that was a sunk cost. Number 2, that there had to be a non-city source of all the restoration money, because the city does not have the millions of dollars it will take to restore the stadium. 3, there has to be a fund that is non-city subsidized for the operations and maintenance of the stadium. One of the reasons that it is in the condition that it's in is that there were not sufficient city funds for operation and maintenance. None of the ideas that I have seen are reasonably calculated to result in something that doesn't require a subsidy from the city of Shreveport. And that takes money from SPAR programs for youth and the elderly and people in neighborhoods that, in my mind, are a higher priority than subsidizing a baseball stadium. Mm-hmm. I love Fairgrounds Field. I was there for the ribbon cutting. I was there for the groundbreaking. I was there for opening night. I've attended many, many games at Fairgrounds Field. But that was the time when we had a minor league ball club. If we restored Fairgrounds Field just like it was, if it were brand new, it would not house a minor league team because it doesn't meet the current standards set by Major League Baseball.
Right.
Those are very difficult choices. I don't have the luxury of making those decisions based on emotions, and I haven't seen anything. By the way, I repeated those conditions to Bill Robertson, who was the other signatory on the recent letters, on April the 4th of this year. So,
what's the status of the lawsuit against the city to stop the demolition? Where are we on that?
I think that lawsuit is actually moot, and so there may be a possibility to have some discussions. But I'm based on the letters that I've received this week and some of the comments that I saw in the newspaper this morning, those do not seem promising to me.
So the demolition can move forward in your mind?
In my mind, it can.
And are you going to do that?
I have signed the authorization to go out for bid on it.
And how long does that take typically?
Several months.
Okay. So we could have the demolition done or at least started by the end of the year?
Yes, I would hope it would be completed before December 28th.
And that site, is there anybody, we've heard Willis Knighton may be interested in that property. Is there any interest in that property? The city would still own it, I guess, right?
Oh, the city will still own the property, yes.
Has there been any interest in using it for something else?
I have not received any interest by another party in that. There was an interest when we were looking at the Rev transaction. But, by the way, I've looked at the stadium issue and I spent a year evaluating that, and we did not do the Rev deal because it was going to cost the city about $8 million a year that we didn't have.
Okay, let's ask about, I know your answer. We got a question about, can you give us an update on, and I don't know what they were fishing for, I'm not sure, on the lawsuits that were filed against the city under the Perkins administration, and I guess yours. I don't know if they're referring to Ms. Fleming's or who they're referring to, but they asked if there's an update on any of the lawsuits the city has been facing.
As you know, the city has a longstanding policy of not commenting on pending litigation, and I particularly wouldn't comment on pending litigation when I don't know which litigation we're talking about. So I'm not going to comment on those. Do we have, and I know there have been longstanding, for public records requests, we hired an outside lawyer for a long time to handle those. How much hiring of outside attorneys do we still do? Or do you handle much of it in-house now? We have a very small in-house city attorney staff, and so virtually all of the litigation that we do is handled by outside counsel. We're trying to bring in-house all of the, what I would call office practice kinds of things. We're doing public records requests in-house. We have a new software, a new system that seems to be working better than the old system was working, and I think at least I'm not receiving a lot of complaints about the new system, so I assume that it is complying and getting information to people who request it in a timely manner. When we come back, we're going to take a break now, Ruben, for our last break, and then we'll come back with the mayor for our final segment. I want to see if he'll unban me from the spray pad when it gets fixed. I'm going to ask him that when we get back. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Back to the big stories of the day with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Our last couple of minutes with Mayor Tom Arsenault, who has agreed to do this, we hope, once a month. Right. Come in and no holds barred. He'll answer anything. I know we have made some strides with regard to the pools. I'm going to do this real quick because we don't have a whole lot of time. We reopened Bill Cockrell. We made some repairs and got it back open this summer. Are we putting a new pool in there?
I believe the answer to that is yes.
Okay, that's cool.
We simply made enough repairs, found the money to make enough repairs to have it open this year. Because the bids for the new pool came in. We ended up getting better bids for both Cockrell and David Rains. And so I believe that those are both going to be replaced. I know David Rains will be, and I'm fairly certain about Cockrell Park.
Also, the spray park downtown on the riverfront.
By the way, I hereby release you from your ban.
Thank you, Mayor.
You didn't make her make any promises or anything like that.
I didn't have to grovel.
Pure mayoral pardon.
I love that. They're going to be back on, we hope. I think they're out for bid, or maybe the bids are in. I don't know. We'll have to get both of us.
I don't know the status on that. That's a Shelley Regal question.
But those will be back on next summer.
They should be, yes.
I don't know that you realize what a big attraction that is. There are kids down there that come from daycare centers. They visit Shreveport, and then they go over there and play in those sprinklers. It's a huge attraction.
It's a big deal, and I think by the way that we're doing it, it should not be affected by high water again.
Absolutely. Okay, he's got to get to work because he's got to fix the water, the budget, the demolitions. There's a long list. He's got a lot of stuff to do.
I have notes.
Thank you, Mayor Arsenault. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks. He'll do it again for you right here, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. And welcome back. We are joined now on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker hotline by Jessica Yates, president of the Caddo Parish School Board. We didn't get to squeeze you in yesterday because we had such a busy day with other school board members, et cetera. Y'all had quite the meeting day before yesterday, selecting Keith Burton as the lone candidate to be interviewed. A 7-5 vote, kind of the atmosphere in the room, it kind of sucked things out of the room the way it looked to me. Did it feel that way to you being there, leading the meeting?
It did. There was a few gasps in the room when we read the final votes or the final tallies for each of the finalists. However, the board had not decided how many to take to the final interview prior to that meeting. Ms. Art made a motion, got a second by Ms. McLean, followed by no discussion or comments by any of the board members, which then automatically just led to a vote, 7 in favor and 5 in opposition.
Do you think that some that opposed that thought they had the votes, and so that's why they didn't, they thought, oh, this will fail, and then we'll do another motion? Is that kind of probably what happened?
I'm not 100% sure, because if you go back and look at the tallies, there was more than 7 people that gave Mr. Burton the highest score possible.
How did one school board member, Dr. Vincent, give Keith Burton a 0? Have they had a conflict? Has something been going wrong? What was the reason for that? Any idea?
Well, he also gave Campbell, Fulmore, Hunter, Proctor, and Rogers a 0.
Okay. So he had one candidate he was supporting.
No, he had 0 candidates.
Nobody. He gave nobody?
He gave no one a vote.
Huh, that's interesting. We will have to chat with him about that. Keith Burton, easily 58 out of 72 points. Maybe I said 60 yesterday, but it was 72 points possible. Keith had 58, far and away surpassing the second place finisher, who had how much?
The second place had 32, so there was a 26-point difference between first and second place, and there was a 32-point difference between first and third place.
Was Keith's resume, job skills, so far and above the resumes? I know you read them. I know you looked at the interviews. Were the others just substandard candidates that we got?
I think, the other interviews were amazing. know a lot about their background other than what we've been told during the meeting via their videos and their resumes. Mr. Burton, he's been here for many of years. He knows Caddo. I feel like we're in a time right now where we need somebody that actually knows Caddo Parish as a whole, knows our system, and it can go ahead and start working on day one to making changes throughout our system.
Talking to Jessica Yates, president of the Caddo School Board. There are going to be some who say that, you know, we have failing schools in Caddo Parish. The state has come in and kind of given us some marching orders, and that Keith Burton's been, you know, one of the leaders during the failure of these schools. Is he not responsible to take some of the blame? Let you answer that.
You know, the system as a whole is responsible for taking the blame. You can't put it on one person. There's only so much he can do. We also got to remember, as parents, we've got to do our part at home.
And you think there are problems with that at home in Caddo Parish?
We can't make it where that the teachers are the only ones teaching our kids. We've got to teach our kids when they come home.
September 11th, Keith Burton will be interviewed in the light of day in front of everybody. You know, this is not my first rodeo. I have been involved in a lot of these where we had receptions, and then you guys went behind closed doors and did an interview. Why are we handling it out in the public like this now? Have there been policy changes? And explain why this is all going to be done in the light of day. Everybody can watch.
I'm not sure what the policy change was, but I do know after speaking to council that there was a policy change that requires us to do it in open meeting.
What are the top 3 things you want to ask Mr. Burton about? What do you want to hear from him?
I do believe that there is going to be a set list of questions that our firm that we hired has put together based off questions and comments and concerns from the 18 public meetings that was held.
So there are going to be some standard questions that you're going to be asking, because we all know during a job interview there are some things you can't ask. It's illegal.
Yes, sir. You're correct.
And you will be completely briefed on that, because I mean, again, the cameras will be rolling, everybody will be watching, right?
Yeah, and I think in order to not break any laws or anything like that or face any potential lawsuits, that we keep it as standard questions, and it's questions coming from community concerns.
And then what happens after September 11th? If you guys are all happy, we take a vote. I assume it is your hope that this board votes unanimously to offer the job to Keith Burton. Is that where we go at that point?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, the school board will interview Mr. Burton on the 11th. There hasn't been anything released at this time of what the process will look like that day. However, I would love to see a vote that day. I would love to see a unanimous vote. And where we go from there is hopefully immediately in the following days, there will be a contract negotiation finalized or even prior to that, and that he can start work and, get in our schools and start making changes.
Is there a small committee that'll do the contract negotiations? How's that going to be handled? Do you know that yet?
I have no clue how the contract will work out. I just know that at some point it will come to the board.
Do you think, Jessica Yates, president of the Caddo School Board, do you think that the concerns from several school board members was that the other 5 semifinalists might not be here for the long term, that they might be coming here for 2 or 3 years, 4 years maybe, and then moving on to a bigger and better system? Was that a primary concern for many?
I really didn't hear that. I really, everything moved so quickly a couple of days ago that there was no discussion between board members, so I'm not sure what their concern was about why they voted the way they did. I just know what my concern was. I feel like they didn't research Caddo Parish really well, and that he knows Caddo, and I think Mr. Burton is the best option.
Did you have any discussions with any other board member about who your favorite was going into the meeting Tuesday?
No, because I feel like every board member was open and ready to hear from somebody. We all agreed at this point there's change that needed to happen. And I feel like that Mr. Burton is the best for this job right now.
And before we let you go, to those who say the fix was in, y'all had the votes going into it, and that's why you did what you did with the motion to interview only one, I want you to have an opportunity. You heard me ask this of other board members. I want you to have your opportunity to respond to that question.
Sure. We all went in with open eyes, ready to listen to all of the finalists. I think after reviewing the videos for an hour and looking through their resumes, I think we all agreed on different aspects of the interview process where some of the finalists said one thing that was better than another person. But in the end, based off 8 people, giving Mr. Burton the highest points possible, that he had the best resume and the best video.
So those tally sheets did it for you and for many other board members, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, I really think the way the tally sheets worked, I think it was a great eye-opening experience being able to see how other people or the other 11 board members thought of each candidate.
Jessica Yates, Caddo School Board President. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
1017 FM, 710 KEEL.
Mike and McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Okay, we are back. And I was looking at something I think McCoy posted about, and I don't know how he did this because he was trying to name a list of the worst potholes in the area in Northwest Louisiana.
Yeah, how did he do that?
It goes on and on and on.
It's the hugest list on earth?
Yes.
Wow.
It absolutely is. And I'm like, you're missing one of mine. I mean, there are on his list, there are potholes on the interstate.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That is so terrible.
The one on 3132 almost took me out the other day.
Really?
Oh, man.
Wow.
I would have sworn it exploded my tire, but I got lucky, I guess. There's
one we have a few on Shreveport Barksdale Highway that are now becoming you have to go around them because they're dangerous.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're not blocked off yet, but I'll probably may call them in and go, hey, y'all going to need some cones out here. This is now a 6-inch bump.
Oh,
and
yeah.
people are going to wreck their cars. But I'm driving right now in a little SUV, so it's a little different from, the Bentley. And the Bentley doesn't love potholes at all.
No.
And it's got low, swag stuff on it that'll scrape. And I'm like, but the SUV's been good. But I'm intrigued to find, and if you live in the Benton area, I want to know if this is really true. There's a pothole in Benton. I think it's Highway 3.
Oh, boy.
It may not be 3. I'm not sure. Maybe one of the off-roads.
Another one of those state-run ones that Arsenault was talking about, probably.
Possibly. But they were restriping the road.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Go ahead and say it.
They restriped right over the pothole. They just striped right over it.
They had all those city workers there.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't even just stop the striper and, pick up on the other side of the pothole. You got partial striping right across a pothole.
Gosh.
Who does that?
That's just, I don't know. That's just lazy. Where they could have filled it with Quickcrete. They could have brought some quicks, done something.
Something to fix.
Instead of painting a line inside of a pothole.
You painted a yellow line inside. Is that true? If you're in Benton, please let me know if that's true or not.
I've seen pictures on the internet. I've never seen this personally, but I've seen pictures on the internet where they've painted over roadkill.
Are you serious?
I am dead serious. I can find it right now.
Painted over roadkill in the road?
Painted over a dead raccoon, yeah.
Wow. That is unbelievable. They're drinking or something. They've got to be. Who's striping over a dead raccoon?
Striping over dead animals and potholes. And
golly. And, I didn't get a chance when the mayor was in last hour. I didn't get a chance to thank him because I've noticed there are crews picking up trash almost every day now.
I see them every day. Yeah,
they
I see them out every day.
On the freeways, on the Interloop. They're all over. And I don't know if this is private firms we've hired, if it's inmates, if it's city workers.
They don't seem like inmates.
They don't.
They
don't.
And usually when you see the inmates out picking up trash, there's a van with flashing lights, and there's no van.
Right.
So I don't know what these guys are.
So whatever they're doing, they seem to be
working.
But it's a sad state of affairs that they have to be out there every day.
That people are.
Because right behind them, people are chunking crap out their window.
Humans are going to human, and they're going to, throw their old pack of smokes out the window or their Coke can or whatever.
That is sad.
It's super sad.
Got a text from Grace Ann Blake, Caddo Commissioner. 2 potholes on Uri Drive are beyond dangerous. When the semi trucks are hitting them, it becomes a big, big hole.
Oh, yeah. I've seen if it's on, Uri Drive proper before you get on Highway 1 or anything, I've seen them so deep that you can see the old brick underneath it.
Wow. Wow. That is a monster pothole.
That's ridiculous.
You can see Gary's list of the potholes at KEELnews.com. Check it out. Check it all out now. See if your favorite pothole is on there.
And like the mayor said, that's a state-run highway. We personally, as Shreveport, can't do anything about it until the state steps in. But who hit us up and said?
Senator Presley said they're working on it. They're going to be putting Uri Drive out for bids. I found out something, too, that like Line Avenue, part of it is state and part of it is city. And so you have to know where the line is drawn. Because I called in a pothole to DOTD and they said, that's part of the city and that's not the part that the state. I'm like, oh, boy. It's like streetlights. Who's on first?
Who do I complain to?
So I just, me. Guess what? I complained to them all.
Yep. The squeaky wheel.
Absolutely. Boy, do I squeak. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Let's get back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
We are back. Reminding you we are off tomorrow, so you will hear Best of Mike and McCarty.
Yes.
We call that bomb, BOMM. It's the bomb tomorrow. Bomb day. We're having a bomb. And Monday we're off for Labor Day.
Yes.
So we will be back with you live on Tuesday. Today is the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Anniversary is not the right word.
No.
We need a bad word that the U.S. doesn't. We don't have it in English for an anniversary word that's a bad connotation. 19 years ago. I can't even imagine that. Looking at some of the people who jumped in to help that day, some of the things they had to do, it just reminds me of how first responders have some of the toughest jobs in the world quite honestly, for some of the lowest pay. And then I was looking at the list of the top 5 worst jobs. You were telling me about a job you had that really sucked. I'll be honest with you.
Which one was that? I had several.
I believe the Minden job you were telling me about.
I worked at a tobacco store for a little while. I worked at the Dairy Queen. I worked at Cotton's Chicken. I worked.
What'd you do with chickens?
Oh, I was the fry master. I was the fry daddy. So
you fried chicken?
Oh yeah, hanging over a hot, sweaty fryer.
How did you get a date during those? Because you'd smell like grease the whole time.
I smelled like grease. I didn't. Is the short answer.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
No dates at all.
There was no dates.
I'm one of the lucky human beings. I never had to work in fast food. I never worked really in retail. Well, in sales or that kind of thing. I worked in a little tennis shop at one point, but I mainly just strung the tennis rackets.
Okay.
Maybe would sell sneakers every now and then. But the worst jobs in America, a cleaner, someone who goes out and cleans whatever.
I worked sort of part-time on call sort of for cleaning up rent houses. And man, cleaning up my friend's grandma's rent houses we would find some cool stuff every now and then, but most of the time it was a lot of smelly garbage.
Oh, God. That's the worst. Second on the list is a waiter or waitress. I find that interesting. That is, you don't make a lot of money unless you're in a top dollar restaurant.
And that's mostly just having to deal with sour-faced people.
Yeah, everybody's not happy when they go out to dinner, and I don't understand that. Third is a janitor, kind of close to the cleaner.
Okay, yeah.
Fourth would be a laborer. Like, can you imagine somebody building roads in 110-degree weather?
Oh, if you look in downtown Minden and in downtown Ruston, I put up all of those lights. I had a hand in putting up all of those street lamps that you see, those kind of black, old-looking street lamps. Yeah, I had to do that.
I think you got all 5 on the list here.
I'm pretty close.
One more is number 5 is a truck driver.
I've never really. I worked briefly with Eagle Distributing. I don't remember much about it, honestly.
Yeah,
and that was just in town.
I'm
driving
surprised.
the Red Bull trucks.
This says the salary of a truck driver is only $50,000. I thought truck drivers made 6 figures.
I think it depends on, like, if you're long haul or if you're
in town.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay. I didn't understand. You've had some sucky jobs.
I've had some terrible jobs. This is the best job I've ever had. and it's also the only one I wasn't fired within 5 years of doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long have you been here now?
I think I've been here 7-8 years.
Wow.
I started part-time doing nights, and that wasn't great, being up here at night all by yourself. But, it's still better than digging ditches.
Now, how long have you been in command of the dump button for moi?
4 years? 3 years?
Has it been?
I think it's coming up on 4 years.
Wow. Well, Mike's over 2 years now. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
My hands have softened significantly since being here.
Ruben is so easy to get along with. I mean, he really is. And I haven't had to throw anything at you in a long time.
Not in a while.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Looking at some numbers, and it's kind of astonishing. This is the day, August 29th, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina pummeled New Orleans. It's a day that changed our state and our state's biggest city, and I would say one of the world's most charming cities forever. And I just was looking back at the population in New Orleans prior to Katrina was almost 485,000 folks. The year July after Katrina, that population was cut in half to 230,000 were left in New Orleans. It's bounced back a smidge. It's now up to like 384,000, but that's still 100,000 people fewer than they had prior to Katrina.
Absolutely.
We don't really understand how much that storm changed that city, and I would venture to say this state.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because a lot of those people fled the state. I mean, they went to Texas. Houston was a big beneficiary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dallas saw a lot of people. It was a traumatic time. It was one of those things, and I don't know. You were in high school?
I was a senior in high school, and I remember new students showing up. I remember I was walking down the street with a friend, and there was a convoy of cars coming down the street, and the guy in front asked where the hospital was or where any shelter would be, and we had to give him directions. That was before any of us had phones with magic maps on them or anything.
Wow.
And it was weird. It was a weird time.
I had interactions during that time shortly after Katrina. I ended up, I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was a call to the radio station or what it was. Someone looking for help. And turns out this lady was at one of our local retirement communities on Flournoy Lucas. I'll leave it at that. And I went by and I met her. And she was 82 when Katrina hit. Her house was underwater. She was up on the roof, and had to be airlifted in a bucket, one of those buckets.
Jeez.
And she showed me a picture of her in the bucket being airlifted to the airport.
Wow.
Well, she was airlifted into a chopper, and then they took her in the chopper to the New Orleans airport. And she was put on. She didn't know anywhere about where she was going. Hadn't left New Orleans all her life. Her 2 children were pretty destitute in their own right, to be honest,
Yeah.
and she couldn't find them. She gets on a military aircraft, and all she's told when they land, we're now at Barksdale Air Force Base in North Louisiana.
What an upheaval.
Gets off. She's obviously elderly, no place to go, knows no one. She ended up with some group here who was helping some of the elderly folks get them placed where, she was able to do some paperwork. They knew about her Social Security was very minimal. That barely I'm sure it didn't cover the retirement home, but they took her in for what her Social Security was, and then they gave her a small amount of money after. I don't talk about this story much, but I'll never forget this woman, and I'm not going to name her name because I think she has died since, but obviously it's been 19 years. But I would go up there about once a month and pick her up and take her for a drive. And we would just drive around. We'd go have lunch. She would, every time I would come, I would ask her, where would you like to go today? And she would always say, after our first few visits, she would always say, I want to go to that barbecue place you took me to.
Ooh.
I want to go to that barbecue place. And it turned out it was Jack's Barbecue on North Market.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, we would go in there, and if you've ever eaten at Jack's, it is a dive. Love you, Jack's. Love you. It is a dive. But the food is really, really good.
That's usually a staple of really good barbecue.
Yes.
If the place doesn't make any sense as a business, they have great food.
She fell in love with those barbecue sandwiches.
Man.
And I would get her 2 of them, and we would sit, and she would drink a soda pop, and we would sit, and she would eat those barbecue sandwiches like it was the last meal she ever had.
Wow.
And now she liked the food at the retirement home. It was fine. But just to get that barbecue sandwich wrapped in that aluminum foil, the joy on her face, I will never forget it. And I was glad I could play a small part in her life because she couldn't reconnect with her children. She was here for over 5 years and didn't reconnect with her children until 4 years in.
Ugh.
4 years after Katrina,
nightmare.
she finally was able to find her children, or they were able to find her. Such an amazing story. And they're all over the state. People have those stories all over the state. And we just remember this day. Golly, it's been 19 years. I cannot believe
Unreal.
it. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Back with McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Talking a little bit about Katrina and how the things have changed. New Orleans, will it ever be back up? It'll never. It will never fully recover, I don't think.
It'll take a while.
Yeah.
For sure. It'll definitely take a while. And, they just have to, they definitely have to make sure their infrastructure is on point as far as those levees go to avoid another disaster like that.
Watching some of the videos from this morning from the revisiting it, it's kind of traumatic, to be honest with you, because I know when I was watching it at the time, when it was happening, to see the Superdome, it was almost so bad and so horrific that you could feel what those folks were feeling. You could smell. It was just so devastating. And the people and I know we had tons of first responders from here that went down. I remember talking to many a firefighter and many a police officer and state troopers who went to New Orleans to provide whatever assistance they could. I don't think I want to watch any more videos today. I'm kind of to the point of, I remember it very well, very vividly, and it was
that
it was a tough day.
whole Superdome situation was hell on earth.
It was.
It was hell on. There's no other way to describe it. It was hell on earth.
People that were just in such destitute states and felt like we forgot about them. Felt like they were forgotten folks.
Yeah.
and they were struggling in this heat. Can you imagine in this heat? Anyway, it really is traumatic. And to look back I know it's traumatic for a lot of people who went through it. We have a lot of people who relocated to Shreveport and are still here from Katrina. And we're glad you're here and we're happy you're here. But I know you went through hell.
Yeah,
I know folks went through hell.
And because of what went down and the way it went down, it caused a lot of political division. And I think that's when I first started noticing some really hardcore political division in this country. I think that I don't want to say that was the start of it, because I don't think it was, but that's when I first started noticing a real hardcore divide. Well, you remember Kanye got on TV and embarrassed poor Mike Myers by saying George Bush doesn't care about black people, and that didn't help anything.
No, it absolutely didn't. You're absolutely right. That's interesting. I've never thought about it, that might have been the start of what we're now dealing with still. And probably will for another generation.
Yeah.
Who knows? Sad. Very sad.
It was rough on all ends.
We are taking a day off tomorrow. So we will be running the best of Mike and McCarty tomorrow. Some of our best interviews, some of our best segments that maybe you have not heard. Maybe some from a few weeks back if you haven't heard. Monday, we're off for Labor Day. If you missed our 1 hour with the mayor today, kind of a special hour, no holes barred. Every question was open to him. We will replay that on Monday morning in the 7 o'clock hour on Labor Day. And I think he sat there and agreed to do it once a month, didn't he?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I heard is he's definitely going to look into doing that once a month.
We're going to get it on his schedule.
He said it to us off the air. He very rarely turns down an interview opportunity.
And truth be known, he's always been available when I've asked him. And you know, I'm not always the sweet princess that people think I am.
No, in this position, you know what? No matter how nice he is, sometimes we got to piss the mayor off, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So and look, he ain't the first one I've pissed off, and he ain't gonna be the last. Just FYI. Thanks for being with us today. We will be back with you on Tuesday morning right here, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.